Hello, cherished viewers. It's time once again for an exclusive Human Rights Talk segment just for you. And this is because of our love for humanity and the desire we have to ensure that your rights are protected and respected at all times. I'm Ama Nupe, and you are watching the Human Rights Talk with Nupes. Let's get talking. The topic for today is human trafficking. And to help us understand the issues that we are going to discuss, we have with us some seasoned personalities. We have lawyer Rebecca DeLong Fosu. She's a legal practitioner and also a human rights activist. She's also the founder of MBDN CEDA International Ghana. We also have with us Philemon La, who is a human rights activist. And the last but not the least, we have Mr. Robert Akoto Amuafo. He is the Director of Amnesty International Ghana and a strong human rights activist. This show is powered by Nupes Foundation and Family Affairs. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Before we delve into the main issue for today, we will first look at the first segment of this show, which is usually the life and living segment. The topic for today's life and living segment is when you are distracted in church by a fine man or a woman, what do you do? I can imagine my seasoned personalities, what they are going to say to this. So, ladies first, do I start with Lawyer Rebecca or she starts with Robert?
Well, since the distraction is about a man, maybe you should start with me.
No, okay, yeah, good. So, tell us, if you go to church and you are distracted by a fine man, what do you do? How do you go about it?
Oh, you said fine man.
Yes, fine man, and you are distracted by.
I mean, we all like beautiful things. I mean, naturally. So, when you are in church and you are supposed to be in the spirit and then you see a fine man, you definitely want to look at him. You see a finely dressed gentleman, you know, wearing some really correct looking suit.
You know?
Come on, you would look. Having some really beautiful perfume on, you would want to look at him and say, oh wow, he's nice. But in church, you should end there. You should try and get back into the spirit after going into the flesh.
That's a very good one. That's a very good one. Yes, Philemon, what do you have to say today? If you are distracted by a fine woman in church, what do you do?
I think that the church is the most perfect marriage market anybody can find.
Exactly.
So the church is the most ideal place you can find the right person. So if I am distracted by, in my case, a very beautiful woman, I think I'll reach out.
Would you reach out after the service or you will try to make
I'll try
contact?
to make eye contact. Because that's the only thing to do.
That is you flirting in church.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it just let her know that I see you and we're in the spirit now. We'll talk later.
You know, sometimes when somebody looks at you for a long time, you feel some
connection.
Exactly. No, like even if you don't realize that the person is seeing, but later on you feel somebody. You turn and you realize that you meet eye with the person. Okay. Then you nod your head and the person says, "Yes, I'm looking at you."
Okay, that's a new trick there.
Then you let the person know that I'm looking at you. Then the person may smile or ignore you, but the person will realize that you have seen her, which is good.
Okay, so I think from everything that we've said and from what Philemon said, it's more like the church is the right place, a conducive place as a Christian to find a partner. So what I would say is if I'm distracted in church by a fine man, like everyone said, I'll try to make an eye contact, and then probably after the service, try to see if we can talk. Yeah. But if you don't get to see the person after service, what happens?
That's when your monitoring skills must be very sharp. You must make sure that during offering you watch, you know, her movements. If she's there with somebody, if she's there with other people, make sure that you are monitoring them right after the service to see which one she's following. Follow her.
You check if the people around there, you know any of them.
Okay.
Because you know it's easier to connect through someone that she's comfortable with.
Yes.
So you say, oh, how is this girl? What's her name? Blah, blah. Before you go to her, you have at least some basic facts
about her.
Mm-hmm. So that one surprises people, and they want to know how you know them and know more.
Yeah. So they'll give you a listening ear.
Exactly.
Honestly, for me, what always works for me personally is that when I see a person and I smile.
Wow.
And when I smile at you, you won't leave after church service. You will not. After church service, you will come.
No. No,
the smile is way too broad.
Yeah.
And then you will be interested, like, why is she smiling so much at me?
Yeah.
So you won't leave, you will come.
Yes. I remember way back, my brothers used to go to church because of women. Honestly, they were mass service and they don't miss church because they have to go so that the girls they are crushing on would see them. What I would say to this is that it doesn't matter whatever it is, if you get distracted or you get attracted to somebody in church, like you all said, you would make the contact and probably try to talk to the person after. Express your interest after a day or two or something. Because it's a church setting, I don't think that if the person doesn't reciprocate the feeling, don't make it uncomfortable for the person. Okay, sometimes people will stalk you so much that it becomes uncomfortable. You don't come to church as regularly as you should. So let's take note.
You see, my pastor gave us the way out of this. When you like a girl in church, you don't go and start saying, Charlie, don't worry. No, you start with something else.
Okay.
You start by letting them know, Charlie, how is your faith going? How your religious life? How is it going? Can I begin to, we can share the Bible every morning. We can pray together. Exactly. You try to enjoy yourself before you go on with the ultimate.
How about the dress? How about the dress? Because I know I have all sisters. And every time they tell me I don't have a dress, so I won't go to church, which means that they don't have a new
dress.
One.
Yes, that's
so
what
which means they invest a lot in the dress and the shoe and the hair.
Yes.
So if you notice it, when you're there, oh, your dress is beautiful.
It's true. It's true.
Really,
it's true. Because as ladies, it means you paid attention. Yes. And the effort the lady put into has been noticed.
So?
Yes. I also think that in church, when you are flirting, don't flirt too much. Have a way to flirt. Don't flirt as if you met the person in a club or somewhere. Flirt in a holy room.
The smile works.
The smile works.
You look very crisp. At the same time, look very. You are communicating so many things at the same time. So I see you there. You're coming. I'm like.
Because, like you said, the smell is so broad. The person would want to find out.
Definitely, a lot of the time when I see people well, especially men, you see them well dressed, and then they come to church or they come to a function. What I do is to smile at you. I see you and I smile. If you come close to me, I say you look nice. I'll tell you that. I will tell you that you look nice. And usually for me, it ends there. After that, I'm out. But a lot of the men, after you smiling so much at them and then telling them you look nice.
They want
to follow up.
Yeah. So that's it. So you just did.
So for me,
supposed to do.
If it's a lady, if it's a guy, you can use all those tactics. But if you're a lady, you're a lady. Or you need to,
maintain class.
Yes. So let the smile do the talking. You understand? You do smile at him, or sometimes he's going and you smile. You can wave.
And then the compliment works. You place a compliment or
nice.
two. Yeah.
Because obviously he does look nice. Yeah. And men who look nice, as much as women invest in their dress, men who look nice also invest in theirs.
And they would appreciate it. Get compliments. That's a good one.
So you see him and you're like,
I think what you're saying just made me remember something. I joined a new church about 2-3 years ago, and I got attracted to one fine guy. His sense of dressing at some point, he's good looking, and I think what even made me notice him more was there was a program, and he's part of the church's protocol, the protocol team, and you know how they try to dress exactly. When he came out, I was like, wow, this is a fun. So I think afterwards, I don't know what happened, but then I tried to get in touch with him, and then we became friends, very good friends. And as of now, we are very, very good friends.
After 3 years, you've remained just friends.
Yes, we've remained friends because
it is possible. You can just get attracted to a person's,
and it's just the attraction and nothing else.
Doesn't mean you want to marry them or something, but they just look nice. And then you want to give them. There's some guys who really smell good all the time, and so you see them. There's nothing wrong with you. You're like, you look nice.
Some
for
of
me,
them do.
yes. And for me, usually when I give guys the compliment, I have some very interesting facial expression I add to it. That when I give you the compliment, it just hits you like that. Oh my God, you think I look nice. Because you see that, and you're like, your suit is nice. And generally for me, people see me as a very serious person. So when you give a compliment, like, she said, yeah. So it works. For the girls, it works. At the same time, you want to tell him how you feel. At the same time, you want to remain, you want to keep your class.
For the fans segment, that will be odd for now. We can't talk much because that's not the main issue. This is just some side distraction. So we are going on a commercial break and we'll be back. This show is powered by the Pace Foundation and Family Affairs. See you. Welcome back. The topic for today, as we stated earlier, is human trafficking. To better understand what human trafficking is, lawyer Rebecca DeLong would explain to us what human trafficking is. What do you understand by human trafficking?
Okay, Amma, human trafficking, simply, the simplest form you can get is the trade in humans, usually for purposes of sexual exploitation or forced labor or slavery, in whichever form that it comes.
Okay.
A lot of time, when we mention human trafficking, people think that it just has to be something out of the country. It should be, from one country to the other. But it can actually occur within the country.
Okay.
So that even in Ghana here, we can have people being, trafficked from one region to the other. A lot of the time, people are trafficked from one region into Accra to come and engage in all sort of either forced labor or slavery or, any of those sex, how do you call it? Prostitution and all of that. So that's generally what it is. And a lot of the time, there's one of that thing that people find difficult, differentiation between. That is between human trafficking and then smuggling.
Okay. Yes.
And it's because a lot of the time they seem like the same. But if you will give me the opportunity, I'll just state the
Okay,
the
sure.
A little
tell us the
difference.
difference.
Human trafficking is about trade
Okay.
of the person. So it could be either for forced labor or sexual exploitation or any form of exploitation. So the exploitation is against the person, usually without the consent of the person. Now, but with smuggling, what happens is that it sends against the sovereignty of a state. So with smuggling, a person can consent that, look, I want you to take me into the United States, but I want to, dodge all these procedural and all of that. So I want to do away with all of that. So can you find a way of smuggling me into the United States? Now, so with the smuggling, you have the consent of the person that, look, I want to go to US, take me there. And the person takes you there, but not through the right means. So smuggling sins against the sovereignty of the state, whilst human trafficking sins against the person. It's an exploitative kind of crime, so it's against the person. But sometimes human smuggling may become human trafficking. When you get there, maybe a lot of the time you may tell the person, take me to US. When I get there, I'm going to pay you. When I get there, I'm going to work and I'm going to pay you. And then you get there and then the person doesn't have any money. Then the person becomes the one who took him there, the slave. And then human trafficking can so you exploit the person just to get his money back. So I hope that the difference is quite clear.
Yeah, it's quite clear. Would you add something, Robert?
Yes, I would just
To try to differentiate smuggling and then human trafficking.
Smuggling is very, very serious, and it's done in so many forms and ways. Some of us have come across instances where people have been put in mattress and put in ships and gone across the ocean to the other part, and it's only when they got there they realize that there's some shake in the mattress, and they open it and see that there are human beings in the mattress. So smuggling, even people have hidden in plane carriage areas where they put the cargo and the goods, and they get to the country before they step out. So all these things constitute smuggling, where they put themselves into situations where they move to another place.
Very uncomfortable situations for that matter.
Yes, and for human trafficking, sometimes, and another twist to human trafficking is that sometimes it's with the consent of the people. So we have instances where, these, now in Accra, you see there's the poster on the wall, work in Kuwait, this amount of money, with telephone number, and people call. So in this instance, sometimes people also fall into this bracket, and I think as we go along, I'll share. I have sat in a plane where I was coming back from my trip, and I sat in a plane with 10 ladies who were coming back from Kuwait. And so I had the opportunity to really engage them, and they were happy to share with me, especially when I told them I work with Amnesty International. They were really happy to share and tell me their experiences and what they've gone through. So it's really a nice experience.
Pause that, Robert. We will go into the experiences. Philemon, can you tell us what constitutes human trafficking?
Well, I think human trafficking is essentially motivated by a certain greed, a certain love for money. And,
so love for money by the trafficker or the one who is being trafficked?
I think it comes both ways, because the original intent is a certain material reward on the side of the trafficker. But also the trafficked one ends up also wanting something at the end of the day. And we give the case of people that want to sell, that traffic people sell their kidneys.
Okay.
Most of the times, the victim gets nothing.
Yeah.
But there are also people that are willing to be trafficked to sell their organs. And in major hospitals around the world, there are people that are on dialysis hoping for a kidney transplant. So that's an essential need for survival for people with kidney problems. So people exploit the situation out of a certain greed, out of a certain desire for money, traffic people, and then reap out of it.
Yeah.
And then most of the time, so people just exploit other people's need.
Okay.
You know, so for instance, a lady just wants a job to do, and so somebody says, I can give you a job in Kuwait, or I'll give you a job in Saudi Arabia, and when you get there, then you are taken advantage of. So it happens in both ways, as you mentioned.
Okay, so Lawyer Rebecca, I think you mentioned this in your first submission. You mentioned that human trafficking is not only outside of the country;
Yes.
it can be in the country.
Yes.
I want you to expatiate on that, and I'm asking this because if it's within the same jurisdiction, okay, mostly those who go outside the jurisdiction, their passports and other things are seized, and they can't go back when they're being exploited. Because I've heard of other people's experiences where it was seized, they don't even get to eat, or even if they will eat, it's the crumbs. Now, if it happens in the same jurisdiction, there's no passport involved, and the person is probably how many miles away? If it's from the north to Accra, from Accra to Volta, can the person get out of that situation if I feel I'm being trafficked? Because there's a practical experience of somebody in Kumasi who does that a lot. Apparently, she traffics the young ladies. So, within the same jurisdiction, how do you go about it if you realize you've been trafficked?
You know, there is always something that stops them from running away.
And what is that thing?
And people, if a person is in an uncomfortable situation, a person is not able to stop, you should know that there's some underpinning. There's something that's really stopping them from going.
Could it be threats?
When the person is brought from, let's say, I'm looking for a very far place, let's say Bolgatanga,
Okay.
and the person is brought to Accra. This person hasn't schooled. This is an illiterate. This is a person who cannot even read signposts when she sees it, or when he sees it, and she's brought into Accra, taken to Lakeside, or somewhere very far that you cannot even, well, maybe Afienya or somewhere.
Amasaman,
And then taken to some uncompleted building in there and locked with security men all over the place. And she's being made to engage in forced labor. Where does she run to? So it's always a very serious, difficulty. If it's outside, as you said, they use passport, they will try and, and sometimes they take a video of you confessing to certain things, under duress. So they take a video of you confessing to engaging in certain crimes, and then they use that to threaten you. So they tell you that, look, you see this video, you have confessed that this and this happened. You stole this, you did that, you did that. And so when, you decide to run away, we're going to use that against you. And so just look at the fear. Sometimes, you see, things like this, if you're not in the situation, you may not really understand it. So you'll be like, but just run away. It's not that
It's
easy.
not easy. It's not easy.
It's not that easy. So last time I had a client, just an example, who brought her daughter, and her daughter had been defiled. And this girl had kept this thing to herself for like 3 months. And then I'm like, why didn't you tell anybody? She says, the man says he's going to kill me. Wow. And then the mother is like, but it doesn't even make sense. How will he kill us? Take it easy with her. You have no idea. Being an 8-year-old and being told that I'm going to kill you. Being shown certain very hideous things, and then you are so afraid that because you're a child, you cannot even think straight to that, okay, he can't do that to me. So those in that situation are it's so difficult for them to save themselves that they just can't do anything than to, kowtow to these threats and it's all that I'll do this to you, if you do that, I'll do that to you. And then they just stay in there. That's what really happens.
And also, it's also a matter of, there's a bondage.
Yes.
There's a bond where it's the different forms. So, for instance, we have the children on the Volta Lake.
Okay.
They are part of the trafficking. And so there's a bondage where the mother sells the child to the person who wants. And what they do is that they collect a number of the children and they go and resell. So it's like you are in double bondage.
Yeah.
You know, so it's difficult for you to come out. And if you're a child, and especially for the children around the Volta Lake and the other parts of this, especially the southern part, it's very difficult because when you have been sold to, where are you going? If you're taken from Sunyani and brought to Accra or to around Osu or somewhere that there's a sea and you are fishing, or the Volta Lake where you are going to fish, how are you going back home? You know, you can't return.
Okay, so the bondage here, just for our viewers,
Yes.
the bondage here, is that supposed to mean that if, so for instance, Rebecca traffics me, sells me to you, Rebecca is my mom, sells me to you, and then you in turn sells me to, say, Philemon. So I'm in a bondage because there's a contract between Rebecca, who is my mother, and you, and there's a contract between you and Philemon.
Yes.
So whatever I do, I can't run. Because if I run back home to my mom, Rebecca would ensure that I'm taken back.
Because money
That's
has been
serious.
taken.
Exactly.
So then you are left in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
You
So
can't
that's
run,
where the
you can't
bondage
go
comes
home.
in.
Yeah, and there are also girls who are brought from Nigeria. You know, when you go around East Legon, that area, you see a lot of girls on the street. They are also under bondage. They have madams who who bring them here, and they have to work and pay.
Gives them some little accommodation.
Exactly, and even they take them to Italy and other places where they have to go and work, and you have to pay your bond, you know, before you are let go.
This is serious than we actually think.
Spirituality in this. I don't know. to
An
what
aspect
extent-
of, come again?
Spirituality.
Okay.
I don't know to what extent we all would, agree on the existence of supernatural powers, but they make these girls swear to certain deities to be loyal, and that if they
That's
ever
a
get
different tangent it's coming from. Yeah.
no, but indeed, that is all within the concept of trafficking. I take you, and as a means of getting your loyalty, I make you swear by a deity that you subscribe to from your hometown. So you are scared that when you run away, that deity
Your
is going to
dating
strike you
deal
down.
with you, yes.
There are several instances like that.
You know, with this scenario that I'm talking about, the girl actually, you know, I went on some of my school-to-school
For your
campaigns.
projects, yeah.
I went to one public school, and a girl of about 13 years, 13 going 14, came to me and said that she is being sexually abused. And she lives with an auntie who is not really related to her. The auntie picked her from some village in the Ashanti region. And then the auntie brought her to Accra and told her that she was going to take care of her and take her to school. And in return, what she has to do is to ensure that in the night between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. she satisfies her customers, because she has something like a spot.
And how old is she?
She's 13.
Wow.
So this is a 13-year-old girl, and then a lot of the time, the men actually have access to her body between that time because they pay her auntie. They can actually do anything they want with her, and all she has to do is just keep quiet because that is the price she's paying for the education she's getting. And there is a girl, according to her teacher, she's a very student, and so you can see she's somebody who loves to be educated. And then something you love so dearly, your education, that you're told that, you know what, do this and you will be in school.
Wow.
Stop it and forget about school. You know, mommy can't help you. Your real mommy cannot help you. Her dad is late. She has nobody. So she's in Accra here. In the mornings, she goes to school. In the night, she comes back, does this job. And she's been doing that for 3 years since she was 10.
Wow.
She's been doing that for 3 years. So you see, a lot of the time, they're in a situation where if you want to help them, then you should really want to take them through their school. Give them whatever thing that they have been promised, whatever, you know, bondage that they are in, break them totally free from it.
Yes.
Then you know that you are helping them. Otherwise, you just talk to them and then they'll be like, and then.
So Rebecca brings a very important point, and there's a correlation with what she's saying with what the act is, the Human Trafficking Act.
Yes, we will come to that. We'll come to the laws on it, the Ghanaian laws on it, and then the international position on it.
Right.
Don't go anywhere. Stay connected. This show, once again, is powered by the Pace Foundation and Family Affairs. Welcome back. We are now going into the laws in Ghana and international to find out what it is, if there's actually any sort of violation against the people's rights or anything of the sort. Philemon La,
Yeah.
Is human trafficking a violation of a person's right?
Yes.
How
Human
so?
trafficking
How is it a violation?
Violates a person's fundamental human rights. And the question you ask yourself is, what are the fundamental human rights of a person? They include a person's right to life, a person's right to education.
Yeah.
In some jurisdictions, there's a certain right to internet, but well, we are not in that. But basically, all the rights that allow for
a good living
of an individual, dignity of an individual.
Yes.
So human trafficking basically shreds the dignity of an individual, and to that extent, it is against the person's fundamental human rights. So basically, in Ghana, there are 2 legislations that govern human trafficking. The first one is the 2005 Human Trafficking Act, and this act gives it prescribes punishment for breach of human trafficking, and then you can get a minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of maybe 25, depending on what the judge feels. So right in this act, it makes provisions for what society can do, and society includes what the police can do and what citizens by themselves can do, what civil society organizations can do, all in a bid to fight this canker, because it's quite widespread. It talks about the powers of an individual to effect citizen arrests.
Okay.
To arrest even without a warrant from the court.
Okay.
You can arrest so far as you have knowledge that somebody has been trafficked. The police is mandated to do that. And very essentially, there's a fund that this law sets up, and it accepts contributions from individuals, from organizations, from international organizations, civil society, and all
How
of
do
that.
people access that fund?
Well, I'll get to
Okay.
the point is that we even have that fund. Is it operational? Even before we can talk about access to that fund, to what extent is that fund existent?
So I guess my international people are telling me, so I didn't ask the right question. So it should be, is the fund even operational in the first place?
Well, the law prescribes that it should exist.
Okay.
And the law says that Parliament should give a quota to that fund annually. So we ask our parliamentarians, our representatives, your MP, mine, ours, our MPs, how much do they vote from the national kitty towards the human trafficking fund? How much? And I ask our representatives out there, what do you do to aid this canker? How much of our money do you vote for that?
That's a good one. Yes.
I think also when it comes to the human rights, we would not ignore the Constitution itself. Where the fundamental human rights really come in, where we draw all those basic ones. So it means that most of the basic rights under the Chapter 5 from Article 12 down, most of the rights are abused. Once you are trafficked, all these ones you are denied movement, dignity, all of it is gone. The person has just taken you as theirs.
So what I want to find out is from Lawyer Rebecca, since we have laws on it, how come it's still on the rise?
Well, for this one, I won't look at it from the point of view as a lawyer. I look at it from the point of view as a human being.
Okay.
It's human nature to just break laws. Because there are laws everywhere. There are laws against theft. There are laws against murder. But people are always found one way or the other caught in these things. And when Philemon was talking about the causes of human trafficking, he kept mentioning, which I agree with him, that the number one cause of human trafficking is the trafficker. The person who is trafficking is our problem. And until people come to realize that you don't treat your fellow human being in the manner that you do, then we don't move. The laws will be there. People will flaunt it. They will get punished. Another group will flaunt it. They get punished. And it just keeps on going on and going on. Thankfully, reports that we are hearing are showing that there's a drastic decrease in this human trafficking in Ghana, which is a positive sign. But as far as human race exists, people would always want to take advantage of the next person. People would also take advantage of the other person's vulnerability. Another person may think that some of the causes of human trafficking may be poverty, lack of education. But all these things are just factors that just makes the person vulnerable enough to be consumed by whatever trafficker. The major problem is the trafficker until the whole until the whole thing about a trafficker is dealt with, we are not moving anywhere. The traffickers are the problem. Until people come to realize that
the human nature.
Yes, because people want to take advantage of the next person. Why do people steal?
They know there are laws against it. There's a criminal act. There's a constitution that you do not take another person's property. There are laws everywhere. They know well the consequences of these. Yet they do it. Why do they do it?
Okay.
So, and then also, if I could add.
Yeah, you can add.
Another key thing is that some of it is cultural, you know. If you look at some of the cultural issues that we have in our country, for instance, trococy. Trococy is a typical example where a girl is taken from her home to go and pacify, go to pay for somebody's sins or some, exactly. So then the person goes to slavery to serve, you know, for those kind of things. And some people, like we were mentioning, some people believe, you know, I'm sending my child to an auntie to go and take care of and be there and be taking care, help in house chores so she can go to school. And then also the issue of, we mentioned it's poverty, you know. It's a very serious thing where because of poverty, that is why a mother will sell the child or give the child away. Somebody's father died and then the child...
Okay, yes. Robert, let me come in there. I think with the causes of it, we'll look at it briefly again. But now I want us to concentrate more on the laws. As Philemon started with the Ghanaian law, I would want you to tell us some of the international laws on human trafficking. What is being done? You as an international organization, Amnesty International is big and then we all know. So with Amnesty International Ghana, what are they doing? Not Ghana, Amnesty International in the whole. Amnesty International Ghana, UNICEF, UN, what are the international bodies doing about this human trafficking?
So basically when we start all this discussion, we start from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is a very huge one that starts all these international human rights that we talk about. Then keyly, we come to the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. That is where it is really mentioned, you know, about servitude and not sending somebody under such law. So then, and Ghana is a signatory to all these international laws that we assigned to. And there's one that Ghana acceded to in August 2012, which is the UN TIP protocol, which talks about Ghana making effort to prevent and to address human trafficking. And we acceded to ensure that we are able to address it with the international standards, as is expected. And one of the other things that really has helped us on the international scene to help us now have we've been removed from tier 3 something to another tier by the US is the US Trafficking Act, which has helped us to always, the US doing this research to let us know our level and the threats that it comes with on the international front.
Okay. So if you haven't moved from your level or if you're still at your level, it means when it gets to the international front, you are denied certain privileges or...
Exactly, yes. Okay. So, yes. So then some the donor funding that's supposed to come, you will not have it. Some privileges as a country, as diplomatic ties, you lose all those things. So those are the things that really help on the international front that we use against countries that continue to traffic people, and their government seems to do nothing about the situation that goes on.
So recently, our cocoa industry was faced with this challenge. You know, there's this distinction between child work and child trafficking.
Yes.
There were certain buyers that were doubtful about the source of labor in our cocoa farms, and it nearly became an issue. But for the intervention of our diplomatic people,
like he rightly said, yes.
So it's really an important matter that has diplomatic ramifications. But I would ask, have we ratified all these conventions?
Yeah, we have. Ghana is, the last Universal Periodic Review in Geneva, you would see clearly Ghana has ratified almost every international human rights convention. It's only most of the protocols and the optional protocols that we haven't really signed. But the conventions themselves we have, and the ones that were done and when they will go and accede. So it's already there. We just go and say, okay, we want to be part of it, and then they add us without reservations, for that matter. Some countries will put reservations. We don't agree to this one, but in Ghana, we just agree to everything.
But you know, Anna, this issue about ratification that Phil spoke about, you know that generally, it's an international law. It's a general rule that countries need to accede to these laws in order for it to be enforceable. But there's something we call customary international law.
Yes.
Under which we have something we call use cogent laws. Now, with these customary international laws, they come about as a result of customs, practices that we have gone through over a period of time. They become laws for us. And when they become use cogent laws, then what happens is that they become, laws that we look at its preemptory norms, kind of.
Yeah.
They cannot be gone against. And so, and all that, you know that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights has customary international laws in there.
Yes.
So even if Ghana hasn't ratified anything or acceded to any of them, as far as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights has customary international laws, which is binding, which has used cogence laws, which includes law against humanity, slavery and all of that, servitude and all of that. As far as that law is there, no country has an excuse. Yeah. You cannot say that I haven't ratified these laws, I haven't acceded. You don't have an excuse. These customary international laws are binding, and any day, any time, you cannot be persecuted under those.
I can agree a lot with what Rebecca says, except that there's usually a conflict between national sovereignty and then external independence. Sovereignty actually talks about the internal supremacy of a state and its external independence. Yes, peremptory norms exist, and the international community, who is the international police in a way, would have a certain mandate to want to enforce those international principles on the local jurisdiction. But then again, every state would want to show strong its internal might. Yeah. So yes, you see, it's a conflicting thing.
Yes.
The outside people have a power to enforce it within a local state. The local state has the power to reject or accept. So that's the conflict. We have.
As far as we are, even in a global village like this, a lot of the time, in your quest to hold on to your sovereignty, you need to look at some of these customary international. That's why they are customary international laws and they are used cogence laws. It is because there should be some law that would break the boundary.
Yeah, of course.
There should be. Otherwise, people would hide behind their sovereignty and do whatever thing that they want. So that if these customary, we agree that these customary international laws are laws that cut across. It's a humanity something. And so nobody should be a slave, and it's general. Nobody should be a slave. Yeah. It's become a part of everybody that you don't want to agree that people should be slaves. So that one, when they qualify to be used cogence laws, then they break through the sovereignty just a little bit.
Okay.
In order, to ensure that people are treated well across.
This has been very educating, and I know you. There are so many things that were said here that you didn't know about, which I'm sure you've learned a lot from right now. We will be right back. Welcome back, viewers. We are now going to look at what can be done to ensure that this human trafficking comes down completely or even ceases. Because like Rebecca said earlier on, as for the traffickers, they are going to keep doing it for their own selfish interests. But what about those that are trafficked? It could be because of ignorance, it could be because of poverty, it could be because of lack of education, and so many other things. And the desire to want to travel outside. There is a lady I know who was trafficked to Saudi Arabia. She worked for 2.5 years, and for the first 2 months, she wasn't given food. She works from 6 a.m. till 2 a.m. in the morning. That's when she sleeps. And for the 2 years, 6 months that she's been there, she goes out of the house, the compound, every 6 months. She was actually supposed to be here today, but then due to some security reasons, we decided not to bring her on the show. She was trafficked by a friend. Somebody she knows came to talk to her family that they would want to take her out, and they did everything for her. She went there for the 2, and then sometimes it's difficult for them to even escape. She started getting food until after about 2 months. And when they started giving her food, it was the crumbs or the burnt one under. That's what they give to her. And that's what she lived on for 2.5 years before her contract was over. And when there was a day she got a chance to call the people that took her there, her friend, and they told her that there's nothing they can do. It's a contract, and she has to stay there for the 2.5 years. She came back to Ghana with nothing because she was trafficked, and then their friend who introduced her to the agency took the money with the agency. So now, I want you people to help educate the public. Like you said, there are posters these days where you see opportunity in Kuwait, opportunity in Saudi Arabia, opportunity. Talk to people. What can they do to prevent it? And how can, if there's anything about the fund, those that have gone through, the victims, what can we do for them as a state, and then even globally, what can be done for them?
Generally, I would look at this from two sides.
Okay.
If we are trying to stop human trafficking or curb it, before I talk about the innocent or the victim, I want to talk about the traffickers. They are our problem. Yes. My first point is that when traffickers are arrested, they should be drastically dealt with.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. They should be so dealt with that it will be a deterrent to other traffickers. They wouldn't want to do trafficking anymore. That's my first thing. The laws against these people should really work. They should be, they should be punished in the manner that the law says. And people should be made aware that this is what is going on. People are being punished for this. So that's for the side of that. Because a lot of the time they arrest them, and then what do we hear? We don't even hear what happens next. I was only helping them. I was taking them to. I'm the one helping them. I'm taking them to Dubai, and then at the end, they are seen as a victim here.
Yeah.
But they are the traffickers. I mean, in their quest to traffic people, they make it look as if they are helping you. You get me? So these people should be dealt with when they are arrested. They shouldn't be let to go. That's one. And then two, for the victims. Sometimes I always tell, I have a group of girls I've been talking to, that when it's too good to be true, it's actually not true.
True, yes.
So sometimes it's just way too good to be true. Wow, you just paid this amount. You don't even pay anything. You're taking to Kuwait or, oh, wow, this is nice. There's an opportunity there. And you need to be careful. When it looks really that good, it's actually not good. It's better you just stay where you are. So these are the two things I would want to talk about.
Okay, Robert, what would you want to say to that?
One, I would say that we need to up prosecutions. I mean, all reports show that Ghana has a very low prosecution rate when it comes to human trafficking. And another thing is that we need to create shelters. Most of the time, when some of these girls come back home, I have seen with my eyes people who are mentally derailed.
Yeah.
From my transit point from Addis Ababa to Accra, this lady couldn't rest because she was mentally unstable, and they had to tie her and all of that.
Wow.
Such a person, when she comes home, where does she go? We need a system that would take these people back and rehabilitate them before they leave them to go to communities. And we
That's a good one.
Yeah, we also need to pay attention to educating people. I mean, initially, some IJM, which is International Justice Mission, and other people started some work where they educate people on TV with adverts saying that be careful and all of that. We need that education to come back. Exactly. And then we need to train our officials, the immigration people at the airport, and also at the police. When you see a trafficking victim, you should be able to identify them and help.
With the immigration people, how do you identify a trafficked person? Because at that point, if I'm being trafficked somewhere, I was lied to and given false hopes. Okay, so at that point, I'm enthused about the travel. So how does an immigration person know that I'm being trafficked? Because nothing shows. Oh, there should be something.
So
There
are protocols that, and there's a training that they go through.
Okay.
That makes them identify. I have been trained,
Oh,
so
okay.
I know.
You
when
know,
you see
okay.
a person who's been trafficked, there are certain things you should look at. There are certain questions that the immigration officer can ask the person. Where are you going? Who is sending you? What are you going to do there? Even when you go for an visa interview, there are certain questions they ask you to track if you are being trafficked.
Yeah.
And so immigration officers and police officers, even not only people traveling outside, like Rebecca mentioned, those even being trafficked across borders. So when the police officer see that there are so many women in the car, only women, and all of them have a bored face, and certain signs you should see that this is maybe
because
something.
even with this, the little girl I was talking about, when we went to the school, and she wanted to talk to me about what was going on. The little girl I was saying was, being used as a sex slave by her auntie initially. After I did a presentation, this way I spoke to them, and then you can see she wanted to speak to me. You could see on her face that so she was hiding, sneaking. So immediately I entered my car, she walked there, and she said she wants to tell me something. Wow. You see that disposition that they're a bit timid, trying to shy away from people, at the same time trying to tell you something. So you see it.
So
you
they should
see
pick
it.
certain signs from their
You need
mannerism.
to pick it as quickly as this. So when she came towards my car, they should come. And I said, you want to tell me something? She says, I want to tell you something. Come. So you can see she, all through the class, she wants to say something. Then
she's all jittery.
She's all jittery and watching her back. And as she's walking, she watched them. When we're moving downstairs, you can see she was coming there. She would stop. It's like she wants to come. She doesn't want to come. She's jittery. So I told her to come, and then she went back. And when I got to the car, she came there. She was around the place, and then she was looking at me. I said, "Come, you want to tell me something?" She says, "Yes, I want to tell you something." And then she came. So you need to be able to pick these signs very quickly.
And finally, I'll add that government must put in place some measures that will help us address issue of people going to work outside the country with regulations, so that if somebody wants to go and work outside the country on a domestic level, then we arrange an agreement with the countries that these are the things we are supposed to do.
Okay.
When you get there, report to your embassy. Report that this is the address where you live. Nigeria has such an agreement.
Okay.
Exactly.
Nigeria does?
Yes, and Kenya is putting in place. So then people are working towards that, so that we know that people need work.
Okay.
And so I know, for instance, somewhere like Thailand, they have that. Ethiopia is arranging that. So there are countries that have arranged arrangement that there's inter-country, so that if our people are going to work there, the arrangements where they go to the embassy, lodge all of them. If you are leaving, you come and register again, so that they can track where you were, who you were, and what is happening to you. So these are things that I think we can do as a country to care about human trafficking.
Okay, Philemon would want to add something like 30 seconds because we're out of time.
That's unfair. But I think that it essentially is about political will.
Yes.
The willingness of the government to fight this head on. It's true that our ratings on child trafficking has come down. But remember, walking around the streets of Accra, you see Malian children.
Exactly.
And now Anas did this work recently, and that traced the root of trafficking from Niger, from Mali, bringing the children all the way to Ghana. That is trafficking. And there are people that are benefiting. You see them begging. The money they take from people, it's not for them. It's for somebody.
They could give it to
they pay. So as much as we are fighting at eradicating child trafficking amongst our citizens, we also should be careful that our country is not a destination for trafficked people.
That's a very good point. From all that has been said, it's clear that the system is failing us. Embassies are failing us, immigration officers are failing us, we are failing ourselves. So this is a wake-up call for all of us to come together and fight this canker, because everybody deserves to live right and enjoy life the best way that they can. So what we have to do is that this is a wake-up call for all of us to come together and do something to ensure all of this comes to an end. Well, that's all for this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay up to date with all the exclusive content and human rights. Also, don't forget to leave a comment so we all get interactive and tell us what you'd want us to talk about on each episode, or what you think about today's episode. Please do well to follow all of our social media handles. I'm Amanupe, and thank you for watching.